Alright, so what is going on, guys? Welcome to another Garden Warfare 2 video. Today, I'm going to be giving you my top tips on how you can get fur in Infinity. Now, the further you get, the more shards you're going to unlock, which is going to give you a higher chance of getting the infinite Infinity chest, which is going to give you legendary character pieces for the party characters, and also some awesome customizations. Now, I believe to get the infinite Infinity chest, you're going to need between about 25 and 30,000 shards. Well, with these tips, this is going to hopefully get you to around 25 and above, which should get you over 30,000 shards. Now, one thing I do want to say is that currently there is some kind of issues with Infinity where the game does crash on Xbox One that I know of. I'm not sure if it's only Xbox One or it could be PC and PlayStation 4, but when you do go to the higher rounds, like the really high rounds, maybe like 35 and above, and you do have a lot of shards, you're very likely to have the game to crash. Now, this also depends on how many people you've got, so one thing I would do is try and get between 25 and 30,000 shards, maybe try and get a little bit more than 30,000 shards, and then just purposely die. That way the game's not going to crash and you can still retrieve your rewards. Now, I have 7 tips which I'm going to be showing you in today's video. If you do want to try and get fur, listen to these tips and let me know if they do definitely help you in the comments down below. But if we could get 500 likes on today's video, that'd be greatly appreciated. It shows me that you did enjoy this video, that you do find it helpful, and that you do want to maybe see some Infinity videos on my channel as well. So the first and most basic tip I do want to give you all is don't always collect the shards unless you need health. I know they're shining and on the floor and you really want to go collect them, but there is no reason why you need to collect all of the shards. They come really handy in later levels when you do need the health, because if you didn't know, shards also heal you. Now, there is no other way that you can heal in this game apart from the shards, and also when you do complete a Gnome King wave. So it's definitely useful in the higher levels to only collect the shards if you do need health, because if you collect all the shards now, you've none on the floor later on to collect if you do need health, because these shards do not disappear. So tip number 1 is don't collect the shards unless you need health. The second tip I have for you is to do with the floaties, and mainly in general the floaty waves, because these destabilize time. They do spawn enemies as well, but the main thing you want to worry about is them destabilizing time, because as soon as that destabilization goes down to the bottom, that is it. That is the end of the game. You do end up losing. Now, for me, I've never actually lost the game because of the time destabilizing. It's always to do with dying, but I would definitely try and take out these floaties, and I do have a few tips to help you with it. The first part of this section I do want to talk about is you want to try and use your Mega Beam to take down these floaties. It's a lot more powerful and it does a lot more damage, and of course that means you're going to take them down a lot quicker. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already know to use this beam, but my tip for you is to try and start every new wave with this ability Recharge. Now, the way you can do this is try and save one gnome at the end of each game, and even if you've used your Mega ability, just simply walk around the map, let it recharge, and then once it is recharged, you can take out the gnome. So you do start every new wave with a fresh beam. So just in case it is a floaty that spawns in, or it is a floaty wave, every single player in the game will have their beam recharged, so you don't need to worry about waiting for it to recharge. Now, another good tip that I do want to talk about is that if you do play with friends, have maybe 2 people firing at the floaties, but then you want 1 or 2 people looking down at the ground around you so that the gnomes can't attack them, because of course when you are focusing on the floaties in the sky, the gnomes are going to be attacking you and you are going to be losing health. So have a couple of people focusing on the floaties and a couple of people focusing on the gnomes on the floor. And the final section I do want to talk about the floaties is at the spawn area where you do originally load into the game. You can actually attack the majority of the floaties from this spawn. Now, you can use your Mega Beam ability to get any of the floaties. If you don't have your Mega ability, you will have to walk just that little bit further forward because it doesn't have enough range to use your standard beam attack. But a good tip for you is it doesn't matter where the floaty is going to spawn. If you are in the spawn area where you do originally spawn into the game, you're going to be able to see every floaty. You're going to be able to see exactly where they spawn, and that is a really good tip of locating where the floaties are and also being able to attack them very, very quickly. The third tip I do have for you may seem very simple, but this is one of the main reasons why a lot of people can go down, and this is you always want to know what is around you. You don't want any gnomes or singularities sneaking up on you, so if you are playing with a team, have somebody look behind you every now and then, because if there is like a giant gnome behind you that charges up its attack, this can do a lot of damage. Now, in the higher rounds, you're slowly going to run out of shards, so when you do get on the higher levels and you need shards from attacking the giant plants and zombies, there's not going to be any shards shards on the floor because you've had to use them up to heal yourself in the earlier rounds when there is gnomes and singularities that sneaks up behind you. So my tip for you is always try and know what is around you, always have someone at least checking behind you and around you, and if you are playing with a team and you're playing with friends, you know, just talk to each other, just say, oh, there's a gnome to your right, or there's a singularity to your left, just so people are aware of it and then they can't sneak up on you, because even just doing a little bit of damage here and there is going to cost you more shards in the later rounds, so it's definitely worth trying to keep as much health as you can all of the time. So my tip for you number 3 is always know what is around you so nothing sneaks up on you. The fourth tip I have for you is to do with the tombstone and garden waves, because I know it's very tempting because it's a challenge in the sky. You want to try and vanquish these tombstones and get the coins. Well, my tip for you is don't try and take the tombstones and the gardens out because it is not worth it. My advice to you is team up on one tombstone. If there's maybe 4 of you in the game, have maybe 2 teams of 2, each targeting their own tombstone. And what I want you to do is you want to vanquish the enemies as soon as they spawn from the tombstone, and this is a really good way to farm shards because all of the shards are going to be in one specific area. So in later rounds, if you do need to get health, you could just come back to where this tombstone was. There's going to be a lot of shards there for you to heal yourself. Now, if a single tombstone goes down, the time will be extended. So the reason is you don't want to destroy any tombstones at all. So that means that the time's going to run out quicker. That means there's going to be less enemies spawning and bosses like the Zen Sensei or the Gargantuas and things like that that are going to do a lot of damage to you. So what I think you should do is just don't take out a single tombstone or garden, just farm the shards from the enemies that do spawn from them. You can then use these shards in a later round, maybe even a Gnome King wave, and then it's definitely going to be useful rather than taking out the tombstones, which are actually quite hard to actually complete anyway because you don't have a lot of time, so you're going to fail the mission majority of the time anyway. So just make sure you do vanquish the enemies, get the shards there on the floor that you can use in later rounds. The next tip I have for you is to do with the giant gnomes, because these can be a really big pain and can do a lot of damage to you. Now, you can team up on them and take them out pretty quickly, but let's say you get cornered with one of these on your own. One thing I would do is try and sprint past them, because being in a corner is definitely not the way to go. You want to try and have the advantage. You want to try and be somewhere where you can back off, because their charge up ability, or the laser what they have, is very, very powerful. Now, you see him charging up his attack, so what I would do is as soon as you see that, try and hide behind a wall or something, so that means even if he does charge up his attack, it's not going to damage you. But if you see him charging up his attack and you hide behind a wall, he's going to stop charging up his attack, so that means you can pop straight back out again and start damaging him again. Now, this is a really good thing to do because he doesn't shoot at you without charging his attack, so all he's going to be doing is hopping towards you, so you can just fire at him. As soon as you see him charging his weapon, hide behind something, he'll stop charging his weapon, you can pop out again, and then you can take him down. So this is a really good and efficient way of taking out the giant gnomes. Hopefully this tip helps you. The next tip I have for you is to do with the Gnome King and also the shards. Now, first off, don't worry about losing the shards. They're not going to despawn. It doesn't matter what wave you get to, the shards are not going to despawn. And the Gnome King waves appear every 5 rounds. First off, you start with one at wave 5, then wave 10, 15, and 20. Each one of these has a different color. I believe it goes yellow, green, blue, and then red. Some colors like that. After this, it goes to a multicolored one, and then after that, I believe it's just a random color. But after completing this round, all the remaining enemies will die. So if you take out the Gnome King, all the other remaining enemies that are around you are going to die. They will drop the shards, and then every single shard that is still on the map that you've not collected are going to automatically be collected by yourself. Now, your health will go back up to 2000 as well, and the time stability will reset as well. So Gnome Kings are very important, because at the end of every Gnome King wave, every shard that's not collected will be then collected. You will go back up to 2000 health. Even if you've got 10 health at the end of that wave, you'll go back up to 2000, and also the time stability will reset. So what I have to do is you want to try and take the Gnome King out quickly. So in the earlier waves, you want to try and take the Gnome King out. He's then going to disappear. Once this happens, the giant plants and zombies will appear. What you want to try and do is then take these out as quickly as possible. You don't need to focus on the gnomes too much if they're not doing too much damage to you. You just want to focus on the giants, because as soon as they're vanquished, the Gnome King will appear again, and then everybody targets on the Gnome King. You will take him out. Every gnome around you is going to die. You'll collect all the shards, so it's a definitely efficient way of taking out the Gnome Kings. Don't worry about the gnomes too much. Take out the Gnome King, take out the giants, take out the Gnome King, and then all of the other gnomes will die anyway. The final tip I have for you is to do to the really high waves when you get 2 Gnome Kings that will appear at a time. Now, one thing a lot of people do is they'll take one Gnome out so he disappears, take the other Gnome King out so he disappears as well, and then you're going to have a lot of giant enemies coming to get you. Now, this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, because this is not the way you want to do it. The first thing you want to do is when the 2 Gnome Kings appear, you want to take out one of the Gnome Kings. He's going to disappear, and a few giant plants or zombies are going to spawn in. Now, if you are playing with a team, what you want to do is you want to have one person distracting the Gnome King so that it doesn't go over to the destabilization pads or whatever they are and start destabilizing time. You want to have one player that's going to keep distracting this Gnome King, taking out some gnomes if they can, and also focusing on the giants if they can, but you want to have the rest of your team taking out the giants. But just make sure you do have that one person making sure that the Gnome King does not destabilize time. Once these giants have been destroyed, the Gnome King that did disappear is going to reappear. Now, what you want to do is then take out that Gnome King so that he will completely disappear. That means you've only got one Gnome King left to do. So what you want to do then is do the same process again, take down that Gnome King so he disappears, vanquish the giants that they'll then appear, and then take the Gnome King down again, and that is the end of the wave. Now, the reason why I think a lot of people take out both Gnome Kings at the same time is the wrong move, because if you take one of them out, a couple of giants are going to spawn. You take the other one out before you've destroyed the giants, you're going to get even more giants coming in, so at one point you're going to get about 4 giants in at a single time, which is going to do a lot of damage to you, and you're most likely going to die. So one thing I would suggest is take down one of the Gnome Kings, destroy the giants afterwards because there's less on the map to worry about, then take out the second Gnome King, and then you shouldn't have any worries. I actually played in this gameplay, I think we got over wave 35, now I've got to 34 many times before and then died on wave 35, but the first time I did try this method of trying to take out one Gnome King, then the giants, then the other Gnome King, it worked, and we managed to get to wave I think 38, and then the game did crash, which was a little bit of a shame. But in this one we do manage to get past wave 35. Now, I am only with 2 people, so it's not hugely difficult, but still getting past wave 35 using this method is not bad at all. And then we did choose to go down after this wave anyway, so we did get a legendary item. It didn't crash, but it's definitely a good tip of getting through the higher waves when there are 2 Gnome Kings. But anyway, guys, those are the tips that I do have for you in Infinity. Let me know in the comment section below if this did really help you, because I think these are some pretty good tips that people may not have known about, and they definitely will help. Let me know in the comments down below if you do use these tips, what rounds you go to. I'm going to hopefully try and go on some really high waves once they fix these issues with the crashes, but for now, I think getting to wave 35 is really good. After that, you just want to purposely die because the game is very likely to crash. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If we could get 500 likes on this video, that would be greatly appreciated, and subscribe if you are new to my channel as well. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.